Welcome to the Let's Go Adventist podcast, where we help you take the Adventist message to all your world in this generation. I'm your host, Jacob Cerns.
And I'm Dan Cerns. And for all who are willing,
Let's go! Glad you are here. We have an amazing topic for you today. We're glad you've joined us. And we encourage you, as always, to go to letsgoadventistpodcast.org to get more information and also to share this with anyone and everyone to put into practice the art of sharing your faith. The topic today is sharing your faith and how to do that for someone who is terrified of that, how to get started the first time ever sharing your faith. What is the easiest way to get started the very first time you ever share your faith? So we're going to get into that. But first, Dad, I want to ask you something. So I know you as superhero sharer of faith, just nonstop, pedal to the metal. Everywhere you go, you're sharing your faith. Everywhere you go. And that's usually someone says everywhere you go and it's like hyperbole or no, this is literally everywhere that you go, you are sharing your faith. I know that wasn't always the case. What were you like as a teenager? What were you like growing up? Were you always this outgoing and fearless in sharing?
Well, people don't believe this, but I was an extremely shy, geeky, nerdy kid. And so I
get the geeky and nerdy part, but
so I did well in school, but I just was kind of in a lot of ways a loner and didn't want to talk to anybody. And my dad, when he would introduce me back when I was maybe 10 or 11, he'd say, "This is our son Danny." And then he'd say, "Shake their hand, Danny." And I'd go, oh. And I just kind of look down and I just kind of hold my hand up there until I felt somebody's hand and I'd shake it and be done with it.
Exactly what you did to me during my whole upbringing. Just every single person. Jacob, meet these people. I don't want to meet these people. I don't care who they are. I don't want to talk to them.
And then he'd always say something like this. "We don't have to pay Danny to be good. He's good for nothing." And everybody would laugh, and I just kind of go in my shell even more. So
what are dads for, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I used to think, "Oh, that's awful what he's doing to me," and then I did it to you and your brother and sister. But
thanks for paying it forward, Dad. Really appreciate that.
Sure. And now you'll pass it on, I'm sure. But really, I was very shy. But I had this reconversion experience several times when I was 13, and I thought, I really want to share my faith, and how do I do it? And when you're really already feeling awkward and self-conscious in that adolescence time, you don't know what to do. And many people who are not in adolescence still feel very shy and self-conscious.
Absolutely. I think that's the majority of people.
Everything in life.
I think that's the majority of people.
Okay. And then to think about talking about a topic like Jesus and the Bible and
chance.
And it's just like, let me be a martyr now.
It's tough for a lot of people to talk about something like the weather, much less their faith. So absolutely. So what changed for you? Where was the moment that kind of where it clicked, or was it a gradual process? How did you go from that geeky, very shy, introverted almost young person to being how you are today?
We don't have long enough on this podcast, but I'll just make this short. The single easiest way to start looking for spiritual conversations, the single easiest way that I found is through glow tracts.
Okay.
I carry them.
Glow check.
Sometimes they're called pocket signs or glow tracts, and glow stands for giving light to
time for a glow check.
Our world.
Time.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And I always try to have two titles right on me, and I'll pull one off the front and one off the back, and I'll hand it to somebody. I'll say, here's something to brighten your day.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they take it. They'll say thanks. Sometimes they'll say, what is it? And I'll say, well, check it out. If you like it, pass it on. And if you don't, just toss it.
Yeah.
But I found that if I start giving out glow tracts, then out of, most people will accept them. Some will throw them away. Some will read them.
Sure, yeah.
But if after I've given out about 500, I have some type of amazing miracle story.
Awesome.
And so when
it's one of those things, the sower mindset where it's like it's a numbers game. Mm-hmm. And you've got to get out a large quantity if you expect to get a harvest back. And so it's with the sower, he's not super conservative with his seed. He just takes the seed and spreads it, the seed being the gospel, and he just takes it and he spreads it everywhere. He's just throwing it all over he's almost like haphazardly. I mean, he's throwing it on the road. Who does that? Who plants anything on a road? That seems so illogical. And yet it just gives us the mindset that he had, the perspective, his perspective, Jesus's perspective, and this perspective he wants us to have is to spread and share everywhere all the time. And to understand that there's going to be, there might be a small return, but there will be a return when the spreading is done faithfully.
That's right. I read an article about a number of years ago, the South American Division president of Seventh-day Adventist Church decided he was going to pass out literature wherever he went. And he thought, should I focus on young people because they're more receptive? Should I focus on older people because they read more? Should I focus on... And he said, I'll just give it to everybody.
There you go.
And he said within a period of time, I forget how many years, he had handed out 100,000 pieces of literature.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if only 1 in 1,000 landed?
That's amazing.
But you have 100 people in heaven. But that is a simple thing. And if you're scared to even do that.
Before we go to that, London, remember London?
Yeah.
We distributed in a matter of, how long was that? A week or was it 2 weeks?
It was a week, I think.
1 week, we distributed 13,000 glow tracts.
That's right.
In 1 week. That's how many, that's the speed with which this form of witnessing can happen, because it takes maybe even less than a second. It takes 1, maybe 2 seconds just to hand that to somebody, and you have no idea the lives that could be changed from that. And in a place, the bigger the city, the faster it goes. The more people are around, the faster it'll go. Let me ask you this. What about COVID? What about during COVID?
Well,
have you been distributing glow tracts?
Yeah, you want to make sure you have long arms so you can hand them out there and they can hold them. But you can also
get one of those little grabber claws.
That's right. You can also do them digitally. You can go to glowonline.org.
Yeah.
And you can read all of them, and you can send them from there digitally in all social media platforms, or email them to friends and whatever. Yeah. And so you can still put them out. And
I've still been handing them to people. Yeah. And people have been very, very receptive.
Yeah.
Just like you said, extending it out at arm's length and letting them extend their arm out at arm's length to receive it. Mm-hmm. And it's good stuff.
Well, I think about my friends Eric and Dara Reibel. They recently were brought back into the Adventist church. In fact, I baptized Eric in his own swimming pool in the backyard here a few months ago.
Awesome.
But I kept encouraging him. I said, as you're reconnecting with Jesus and the Bible truths again, ask the Lord to use you to share your faith with other people. And Eric says, well, my wife here, Dara, has multiple sclerosis. She can't get outside the house. God showed her a way to be a prayer warrior that's amazing.
Awesome.
But then Eric says, I only go out to get groceries or go to the pharmacy for her medication. But then he told me one time, he said, I was in the pharmacy standing socially distanced to pick up medicine for my wife. Mm-hmm. And this is a month before the 2020 presidential election, when temperatures were very high and heated. And he said, I was standing there getting ready to buy, in line, and the guy in front of me turns around and says loud enough for everybody around to hear, what do you think of all this political stuff? I think blankety blank, 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 blank. And he's just going on and on and on. And Eric said, a month ago, I would have started getting into this political discussion with him, and everything would have just kind of gone downhill. But God's changing my heart. And so I just kind of let him go on and on and on until he wound down. And I said, you know what everybody needs? And he says, what does everybody need? And I said, everybody needs Jesus.
Wow.
And the guy says, you're right. Who are you? And then Eric said, Pastor Dan, you told us glow tracks won't do any good unless you keep them on you.
There
and
you
as
go.
soon as he said, who are you? I felt him burning in my pocket.
Yeah.
And so I pulled out some and I socially distanced and handed them to the guy. And the guy took them and he says, who are you and what church do you go to? And he says, well, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. And the guy says, my grandfather was a Seventh-day Adventist.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, you have an entirely different conversation where you can encourage and build up people. And that's really the purpose of Glow Tracks more than any other thing.
Stay armed at all times, because you never know when the moment will strike.
That's right. And it opens conversations.
Yes.
Not always.
Yeah.
But that's really what you're looking for. You're not just looking to get paper out, even though that's valuable.
Yeah.
You are really looking to see who's most receptive, and this is a way to do it.
Awesome. So where do people get these? You mentioned glowonline.org. Is that the best place that you would recommend people go to?
That's a great place.
To get glow tracks?
Yeah, you can go to AdventistBookCenter.com and you can get signs, pocket signs they're called.
Yeah.
But if you're terrified to even hand them to people.
Yeah, what if someone is? What if someone is horrified of the thought of even taking any piece of paper and handing it to another person?
Then I
COVID
encourage
or not.
you. I say get some glow, and then start with chicken witnessing.
Chicken witnessing.
Chicken witnessing. That's where you in a public restroom and you look around, nobody's watching, and you leave them on the counter, and then you leave and you pray, Lord bless whoever gets those. And so when I was pastoring there at Richardson.
So littering, essentially.
No. You're brightening people's day. But in Richardson, when I pastored there, as you know, we would put unopened packs of 100 on the table on the fourth Sabbath of every month, and people could come and sign their name and their phone or their email. And as Glow missionaries for that month, they could take a pack, whatever they thought they could get out that month.
Yeah.
And we just put out thousands and thousands.
It's awesome.
But then we'd start hearing stories back and having these stories in church, just short testimonies.
Yeah.
I think of one guy who said, well, I went to get some more cowboy boots at Cavender Boot City. And I looked at those long rows of boots and I said, oh, that'd be nice for anybody who got a pair. But what'd be even nicer is if they had a glow track to go with them. And then another person said,
so he just dropped them in the boots?
I didn't say what he did, but that's up to him. And then somebody else said, I walked in the grocery store and I said, this is awful. Here they're just pushing alcohol all the time. It used to be in a section back here, but now they put it right here at the end of every row in prominent display, even for kids. It's an awful thing. And then they thought, well, instead of being an ain't it awful Christian, ain't it awful believer, I'm going to bring light into darkness. Giving light to our world is what glow stands for. And they pull out some glow and they start putting them there with each six-pack so that people would have at least an alternative to drowning their sorrows, something good.
Dad, what's your, do you feel like we have enough ain't it awful Christians in the world already today?
I think we do. But I do have to tell you this, though. So,
we need more of the hope-giving variety.
I like that.
Yeah.
Glow-giving.
Yeah, glow-giving. There you go.
Hope and glow. That's right. Yeah. So there was one refined, distinguished member of the church who had been there during my 6 years at Richardson, and he had heard all these stories about glow, and he just thought that's not good. That's not what we want to do, and you really ought to serve people and then become friends and all. Now he wasn't really heavily involved in that, but he thought everybody ought to not do certain things. I say, if they're not hurting you, let them go, as Jesus said.
The armchair quarterback mentality.
There you go.
Yeah.
But then right near the end of my time there, in the lobby, he caught me one day and he said, Pastor Dan. And I said, yes. And he said, you'll be happy to hear that I gave my first glow tracks this week. And I said, awesome, give me 5. And he goes,
let's go. Did you say let's go?
No, I said, give me 5. And he went,
just kind of awkwardly, slowly raised his hand and put it against yours.
And I said, so tell me about it. And he says, I get all of these credit card application solicitations that are disgusting to me. And I thought, you don't have to pay postage to send them back.
Yeah, it's
There's
postage
bound
paid.
to be a secretary somewhere that I could brighten her or his day. And so I put several of those, and sent them off. And I said, awesome, give me another 5. And he went, and was a little bit more comfortable with it.
Okay, yeah.
Giving glow gives us more confidence in
It
sharing our
really
faith, and
does.
it opens up. So
It
this
really
is the place to
does.
start. If you're afraid, chicken witnessing, and then take it step by step until you're
and I
crazy
want to say
like you
this,
and me.
exactly. And I want to say this too, is that even for you and I, it is something that even the first glow tract of the day is the toughest one. And I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but for me,
it's true.
if I've gone and I know you probably don't even go a week or two without passing out glow tracts, but if I've gone a week or so without passing out any glow tracts, when I do try to work up the courage to give out that first one of the day, it's by far the toughest one. Second one's a little bit easier. Third one's a little bit easier. And by, third, fourth or fifth one, it's just fully no fear whatsoever. And so it's just one of those things where I think, and this is so true for the devil in so many ways, is that he puts this obstacle of fear in front of us. And he says, don't you dare cross this line because it's going to be terrifying.
Yeah.
You're going to leave your comfort zone and you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know what's over there. So it's better just stay where it's comfortable. Just stay where it's safe. And if we will only take that first step, and in this context, distribute that first glow track, it's just amazing what happens in melting down, breaking down that barrier.
That's right. And it
fear.
goes twice as fast if you give two titles each time.
There you go.
You pass out the first and second. But in Ephesians 6, where it talks about the armor of God and putting on the helmet of salvation, the breastplate, it says having your feet covered with a preparation for the gospel of peace.
Yes.
And I think that is, back in those days, they would have to make sure that they had something on their feet so they wouldn't stub their toe and twist their ankle and all the rest in their battle. And I think putting on those shoes back in those days is like putting in our glow into our pockets or women into their purse or whatever, so that we are prepared to share the gospel of peace there.
Yeah.
And I think of when you and I were going to visit your brother Dustin and his wife Caitlin over in Cambodia. And we were there. We were heading over there, and we were going to spend a couple of weeks doing some missionary work in Cambodia with them. But we decided to take lots of glow and pass them out all along the way. And there we were in L.A. International Airport. You remember that?
Oh, yes.
You remember what happened?
Oh, yes.
And we're just giving out glow by the hundreds. Some people say, well, what happens in the airports? And I said, well, it's great.
The airport is an amazing,
here.
It's an amazing place because everyone's on the move, everyone's on the go, and people will take it and go. And then you're distributing all over the world, theoretically, right? Because then they get on the airplanes and who knows where they're going with it.
That's right. Somebody said, well, what does security say? And I said, they say the same thing everybody else says. They say, thank you very much. I mean, why are you going to leave them out? Give them some too.
Exactly.
But as we were standing there waiting for time to come for our flight and passing them out, I remember that guy that took some, and then he took a few steps and he came back and he said, can I use your phone charger? I have lost my people. I'm supposed to fly to Amsterdam and I can't get in touch with them and I don't know what gate. And I thought, sure, 20-minute charge, captive audience, why not?
He was seeming really, really flustered and really, kind of forlorn in that moment.
Yeah, and so
distressed.
Then we got into that conversation.
Yeah.
And I said, so what's your name? And he said, Charles. Charles Wasonga. What an unusual name. And I said, Charles, where are you headed? He said, Amsterdam. I said, where do you live? And he's up in San Francisco area. And I said, wow, nice to meet you. And I said, are you from San Francisco originally? He says, oh, no, I'm from Kenya. And I said, oh, I have lots of friends from Kenya. I was pastoring the Richardson Seventh Adventist Church. We had people from 51 countries, and we had a number from Kenya. And I had an elder from Kenya who had just become an elder that I'd gotten acquainted with.
And he's looking at you like, you got friends from Kenya?
That's right.
What?
That's right. And so I said, I have friends, a lot of friends from Kenya. And then just God sometimes prompts you to just kind of randomly put something out there. And I said, one of my good friends is Gilbert Nyandoto. Now, that was the new elder that had just joined the team from Kenya. And he said, Gilbert Nyandoto? I mean, we're in L.A. airport, and I live in Dallas, and we're headed to Cambodia, and he's from San Francisco headed to Amsterdam. And he said, Gilbert Nyandoto, that's a very unusual name. I think I might know him. And I said, well, he said, did he ever take a special training course in San Francisco area for physics and technology.
Super specific.
And I just found that out from Gilbert a month before
So
when
you
we
were
were out
able to-
making business
yeah.
together. And I said, that's him. And I said, in fact, he's one of the elders in a church I'm pastor of. He says,
remember that, yeah.
he wouldn't be an elder. And I thought, is there something you know about Gilbert that I don't know about Gilbert? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, this guy's only in his 40s. He was thinking elderly. Elders have to be elderly. He didn't realize that you can have younger elders on fire for the Lord and
Yeah.
committed to the Lord. So I said, no, that's him. And I said, now, he's an elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Do you have a religious background? And he said, well, almost everybody on our island is Seventh-day Adventist, including his dad, who I rode in his boat with him. And I said, do you have a home church now? And he said, no, not really. I said, do you realize how much Jesus loves you? That out of thousands of people here in this airport, he made sure that we found each other.
Unbelievable.
And then I said, I'm going to call Gilbert. I got him on the phone.
I remember that.
And I said, Gilbert, yes, Pastor.
You'll never guess who
I'm in Los Angeles Airport. He says, we're praying for you on your mission trip. I said, I'm here with Charles Wasonga. There's this long pause. How do you know him? I said, God sent him here so that you can pray for him and lead him back to you and God's church. And he says, and I said, here's the phone. And I have a picture of Charles with my phone talking to Gilbert Nyondoto as he leads him back to the Lord and prays for him.
Unbelievable.
That never would have happened if we hadn't given Blue Track.
That's right.
Charles.
You just never know. You just never know. Thank you guys so much for listening, for being a part of this journey with us once again. And we just encourage you to share this. Don't let this just be something you hear. Let this be something you share. Share this with everyone you possibly can on your social media, and go and get some glow tracks. glowonline.org. If you'd like more information on what we've talked about here, that's letsgoadventistpodcast.org. God bless you guys. We will see you next time.
Let's go!